I'm Matt McClure.
And I'm Francesca Maxime, and this is Currents.
Theyre Brooklyns Shining Stars will take you to a dinner honoring the contributions of local immigrants.
I think it's a sign of what America's about and what the church is about.
2 languages, 2 churches at one Midwest parish. And learn about a man who's turned the Word into pictures.
He embarked on this 10-year project, or what became a 10-year project, to illustrate the life of Christ.
Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. If you were in Coney Island on Friday night, you might have seen the stars come out. The Brooklyn Diocese handed out its annual Shining Star Awards to some immigrants who are brightening our community.
They were honored at 2 recent awards dinners, and it all took place at Gargiulo's restaurant. And Bishop DiMarzio was there, your buddy there, our buddy, along with our cameras.
This is probably one of the most exciting nights of the year for me. It's a wonderful thing to see our church at play in a certain sense, honoring its own and mingling together with so easily with one another. I think it's a sign of what America's about and what the church is about. Each group is able to nominate someone to be their shining star, someone who really has served the community well. And this is the second of 2 dinners. We have over 500 people at each one, so we need to do 2 and to keep it manageable. So this is our second dinner, and there really is an exciting evening for everybody. As you see, we have 32 shining stars this year, and it is wonderful to see, especially how all of the groups get together. They all dance to the same music and enjoy themselves and eat the same food.
I don't have words to describe how I feel tonight. Believe me, I am. This is the last thing that I expected from the diocese. When they called me, I started crying, and I said to Deacon Lima, "Are you sure you're talking to the right person? Because I never expected something like this. Honest."
The Shining Star Award is for someone in the immigrant community who has served the community in a special way, someone who's taken responsibility, something who's done someone special. Each community nominates their own Shining Star. So they tell us each year who they think deserves the award. And it is actually a star. We give them a star which is clear and put their name engraved on it. I mean, half of our people in Brooklyn and Queens are immigrants. So we really depend on them to be the mainstay of our churches as older people move on, the younger immigrants take their place.
What I do for God only to see, not for the whole world to be, not for the whole world to recognize through what I do. This is my faith, and I think that by helping other people, that's a way you really are happy in this life. God can do anything. And that's what I want the world to see, that Jesus is alive. God is alive. He's not dead. He shines in every person that you meet every day.
Especially people like her, the Shining Star Awards. Congratulations to all of the recipients.
Definitely, and great to see someone who is just so kind of humbled by the experience, not saying, "Oh, great, you know, look at me, look at what I've done." She's like, "Oh, this is the last thing I ever expected to happen."
Yeah, not at all. And a lot of times I think that it's very, the people that give a lot don't often get a lot of thanks. Right. And so the fact that she didn't, and a lot of them, I'm assuming, didn't, the recipients I'm talking about, know that they were going to get this award, is so nice because it does in fact show their devotion to their faith. And like she said, you know, God isn't dead. We're living every day, doing our work, you know, pastorally for this faith and for this diocese, and now they're being honored for it.
Right, and so many great people in the diocese doing work like that, and we're so lucky to be in a place where that's taking place. Kind of reminds me of when I went to do the papal honors story, people honored by the Pope back during the summer, and you heard that over and over again there as well, like, oh my gosh, I'm being honored by the Pope, I can't believe it. You know? So it's a thing that keeps getting repeated right here in Brooklyn.
And nice awards too.
Oh yeah, beautiful.
Those are pretty.
Nice to have those shining stars. Well, stay tuned. There's much more Currents coming up straight ahead. How is the world doing when it comes to religious freedom? We'll have that and the rest of the day's headlines when we return. Welcome back to Currents. I'm Matt McClure.
And I'm Francesca Maxime. Coming up just a little bit later on, some insight on a new art exhibit about the life of Christ.
But first, let's have a look at the day's headlines. An annual State Department report offers a mixed review on religious freedom across the world. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton introducing the report in Washington Monday. She praised the growing interfaith initiatives in some countries, but criticized Islamic nations with blasphemy laws that clamp down on freedom of speech.
Religious freedom provides a cornerstone for every healthy society. It empowers faith-based service, it fosters tolerance and respect among different communities, and it allows nations that uphold it to become more stable, secure, and prosperous.
Clinton says when it comes to religion, people of different faiths often will disagree, but she urged countries to tolerate those different opinions and not to suppress them. The report addresses the state of religious freedom in 198 countries and territories. Well, a pro-life congressman says he has enough Democrats on his side to kill the health care bill unless House Speaker Nancy Pelosi allows a vote on an amendment to ban federal funding of abortion. Michigan Democrat Bart Stupak tells CNS News about 40 like-minded Democrats will join House Republicans to defeat a special House rule which sets the terms for amending and debating the health bill. Without that rule, the health care bill cannot be brought to the House floor. Thanks, but no thanks. That is the message from a group of conservative Anglicans following the Vatican's announcement on Anglicans wishing to convert to Catholicism. The Global South group claims to represent almost half of the world's Anglicans. In a message posted on its website, the group encouraged Anglicans who are opposed to liberal reforms to stand firm with us in cherishing the Anglican heritage and pursuing a common vocation. Last week, the Vatican announced it's putting in place a structure to make it easier for groups of Anglicans to convert to Catholicism.
Pope Benedict has announced he will visit the Shroud of Turin next year. Hundreds of thousands of pilgrims are expected to travel to northern Italy to see the shroud while it is on public display during April and May 2010. On May 2nd, the Pope will join them for prayer and for an outdoor mass. The Shroud of Turin is believed by many to be the burial cloth of Jesus Christ. A special honor for a historic Connecticut church. Pope Benedict has designated St. John the Evangelist Church in downtown Stamford as a minor basilica. In a statement, the Bridgeport, Connecticut Bishop William Laurie said the church, which was founded in 1847, now enjoys a special relationship with the Holy Father. And if you want to visit basilicas that are a little bit closer to home, there are two right here in Brooklyn: St. James Cathedral downtown and Our Lady of Perpetual Help in Sunset Park. Well, according to the latest census figures, about 10% of men and women who live together are not married, and reports say that number is on the rise. But a pastor in Dallas, Texas, is hoping to turn that around. Jonathan Betts has the story of 18 couples who are married over the weekend, all at the same time.
This isn't the wedding Michelle Muldrow picture. Her moment shared with 17 other brides.
Amen. Amen. All right. Almost there. All right.
But indeed, for most of these couples, any kind of marriage wasn't even in the picture.
So then why decide to get married now?
Because we're trying to live right, because we live together.
Nearly all these couples were not husband and wife, but living as so. Last month, their pastor, Brian Carter, made his flock an offer. He'll throw a free wedding for any unwed couple living together.
It's as though no one wants to get married anymore. They simply want to live together and enjoy all the benefits of marriage without the commitment.
Indeed, studies show in the last 3 decades, the number of unwed couples has grown 6-fold.
I always knew it was wrong, but I still did it.
Originally, 30 couples signed up, but only 18 made it down the aisle, including showstopper Marguerite Jernigan and James Norris, both in their late 70s and widowed, longtime friends, now a couple.
Our relationship became more intimate, and we decided in order to do what was right that we get married.
It's nice to be blessed with a friend and a husband.
Grooms, you may kiss your bride.
long together, but only now husband and wife.
It's so cute.
I love that. I mean, you can never be too old for anything, you know?
I know, absolutely.
What a great idea for a free wedding, too.
Right. Well, and 18 couples all at once. I think he said something like 30 of them had signed on
Yeah,
originally.
not everybody stuck with the program.
Right, right. And, I guess that just kind of, speaks to the whole thing. But I'll tell you, that's definitely a different wedding. The wedding album is going to be something unique that they can show people for years to come.
Yeah, well, 18's better than nothing. And
Absolutely.
I think the whole concept of it is really just that, why, what is it? Why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free or something?
Right,
This is
the
sort
old
of the
adage.
opposite,
Right.
It's like, no, you got to do what you say you're going to do and make that commitment, like he said,
Get the cow for free.
Well, I don't know. The milk, you know what I meant. You get a free milk or free cow or something.
Something
but
free.
You
Anyway, the
understand.
wedding was free in this case.
Yeah, the wedding was free. You know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
Stay tuned. There's much more cards straight ahead.
Coming up, is the split in one Midwest parish the result of a failure to communicate?
Oh, we're still cracking up over here. Okay, well, earlier in the show, we saw how the contributions of immigrants are being recognized in the Brooklyn Diocese. In other parts of the country, though, immigrants are having a much tougher time adjusting to life in a new town.
That's right, and CNN's Soledad O'Brien reports on a parish near St. Louis that's actually split in two, and that's a split that dedicated parishioners are now trying to mend.
This has been going on long enough. When is it going to change?
A typical council meeting is underway at Holy Trinity. The hot topic, Latinos.
It is the attitude here that they are minorities and they're lower than we are.
Is there any way to fix the problem of trying to get some communication, like them understanding our language, our understanding theirs?
Buenas noches.
That rift has Pedro Moreno Garcia worried.
Garcia, de aquí de la parroquia.
A Puerto Rican from New York, he leads the Hispanic ministry for the Catholic Church in St. Louis.
Instead of screaming out, the British are coming, some people would be, Hispanics are coming, run, run,
Pedro goes from one church to another, trying to bridge the divide between his English and Spanish-speaking parishioners.
So what can you all tell me about the Hispanic community up here?
It's growing.
It's growing?
They make great food.
They make great food. It's not an easy thing to do. It's like a wedding, and you have two families coming together. Let's learn to be a bigger family.
That bigger family has been a struggle at Holy Trinity. In 2002, 3 area churches were forced to merge due to declining membership. A year later, the parish added Mass in Spanish. Today, hundreds of Latinos fill the pews.
Jesús Antonio, yo te bautizo en el nombre del Padre, y del Hijo, y del Espíritu Santo.
And as their numbers grow, some, like Jody Tedeschi, fear the parish is growing apart.
We have 2 separate parishes up there. We have Holy Trinity Catholic Church and we have Holy Trinity Hispanic Church.
Why is that a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing, but we should be come together. We should be as one.
Separate masses, separate activities, and separate parish councils. Latinos at Holy Trinity say the tense climate is fueled by fear.
Por eso es que a veces no compartimos con americanos porque a veces solo sabemos contestar el saludo, contestarle a ellos. Ya si nos van a agarrar a conversar y todo eso, entonces les da un poquito de miedito por el idioma.
Y muchas personas me dicen que no quieren venir a esta iglesia, ya que ellos tienen problemas con la policía. La policía de aquí nada más ve gente, por ejemplo, con cara hispana y automáticamente las para, las revisa.
Why is it so hard?
When you want something so bad.
Unity. And you don't think you're going to get it?
Right.
Such a struggle.
age-old divide. I mean, it's not just in churches. There's a few factors. There's the language barrier, right? There's the whole cultural barrier in terms of customs and the way that you look at things. And then there's people that, say that they want unity, but don't even know how, perhaps, to even begin to do that and what steps to take. I mean, I would sit, in my Harvard dorm room in my, dining hall, and, you'd say, oh, it's an integrated campus. I was part minority and part white and all this stuff. And so I would sit with everybody, but you would still see, certain people, African Americans would sit here, Latinos would sit here, Asians would sit here. It's the same thing.
It's almost like we're segregating ourselves.
Oftentimes we are, and we don't even know what to do.
Yeah, well, and the Mass there, I don't have an issue, of course, with Mass in another language. That, I was like, okay, well, so they're having a Mass in Spanish, okay, big deal.
Well, it used to be all in Latin, right?
But then, but then I was like, okay, well, now they've got the Mass in Spanish, and they're having separate activities, and they have separate parish councils, and I think that's where I think maybe they've been segregating themselves as a parish, too.
Perhaps, but then again, we have different apostolates here in Brooklyn, right? And so you have all different kinds of people, and there's a, bit of a home for everyone. We've seen that struggle right here, I think, and ways to remedy it, and a lot of people work like the people that we just saw that won those Star Awards. I mean, those are the people that do this very thing.
Yeah.
They're working to integrate and working to bring people together.
Right, and with the Star Awards that we saw earlier, the Shining Star Awards that we saw earlier, it was great to see people of all colors and all races in one room gathered together to honor those who are immigrants. So I think that's something where people have been coming together.
Yeah, it takes a lot of work and a lot of different kinds of work. But anyway, stay tuned. There's much more current straight ahead.
Coming up, from secular to sacred, we'll tell you what inspired some lifelike depictions of the life of Christ.
We receive calls all the time about these paintings because people know them from growing up with them in some way.
Well, finally tonight, we've looked at immigrants who've journeyed from their home countries to start a new life here in the U.S. And now we're going to go on another journey of a very different kind, a journey through the New Testament.
A new exhibit opened just last week at the Brooklyn Museum, and it is a series of watercolors portraying the life of Christ in vivid detail. I had a chance to learn more about this amazing collection, and it truly is amazing, by 19th century artist James Tissot when I sat down recently with Judith Dolkart. She's an assistant curator at the Brooklyn Museum. Take a look. So Judith, tell us who Tissot is.
Sure. James Tissot was a French artist born in 1836. He died in 1902. And he primarily made his reputation as a painter of society subjects. He paid meticulous attention to costume, and there was often an undercurrent of flirtation.
So what kind of a vision or a revelation is it that Tissot had that made him change his subjects that he was painting?
He had moved back to Paris in the early 1880s after spending significant time in London. And he wanted to relaunch his Parisian career with a series of paintings called The Woman of Paris. And one of the subjects was to feature a woman singing in a choir. So he went to the Church of Saint-Sulpice in Paris to do his research. While he was there, during the service, as the priest raised the host, he had a vision. And he later indicates that the vision was of Christ comforting the tattered poor of Paris. And he painted this vision. It was called Inward Voices, or The Ruins. It's a painting that can be found at the Hermitage Museum in St. Petersburg. He didn't show it publicly. He sort of secreted it away in his studio, but he embarked on this 10-year project, or what became a 10-year project, to illustrate the life of Christ.
And then that brings us to today and here. So tell me about the exhibit and the paintings that you have of Tissot's here today.
Well, when I say Tissot embarked on a 10-year project, he ultimately produced 350 watercolors illustrating the life of Christ. And we're showing 124, plus a sketchbook, plus illustrated Bibles that he published subsequently after completing the series. The Brooklyn Museum purchased or received the entire set of watercolors along with some preparatory drawings in 1900. And it was actually a gift of the citizens of Brooklyn to the museum. The museum in 1900 was just 3 years old in its current location on Eastern Parkway. And so this set of 350 watercolors was an absolutely foundational acquisition, a transformative acquisition for the museum.
Why did Tissot choose watercolors, and why was his subject so much focused on the New Testament?
Why the New Testament is a little bit difficult to answer on some level. He had this vision of Christ. He was a Catholic by faith. He returned to his faith. So one thinks that this vision prompted him to paint the New Testament. I should say that when he was finished painting this New Testament set, he then embarked on an Old Testament set, and that can be found at the Jewish Museum in New York. They have the complete set. Why watercolors? This is also something of a mystery, but he ultimately intended the set to be published in the context of an illustrated Bible that is called, colloquially, the Tissot Bible. And it seems that the watercolor medium was probably suitable to translation to the printed form.
And finally, when did these paintings, The Life of Christ, this series, what did they do then when they were first done?
Mm-hmm.
How did the public perceive them? And what do you think the reaction is today?
Well, in the time, they made their debut in 1894 at the Salon, a big public state-sponsored exhibition. And the response was incredible and unexpected. It was said that women wept before the images and at times went on their knees from image to image as though it was a pilgrimage location. That same type of reaction didn't happen in London or in the United States when these works were shown there. That was a very unusual type of reaction. As far as their relevance now, these images made their way into these illustrated Bibles, into catechisms, into Sunday school texts, and so we receive calls all the time about these paintings because people know them from growing up with them in some way, and so it naturally prompted us to consider putting them out for the public.
Well, Judith, thank you so much for showing us this amazing exhibit today.
My pleasure.
We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Wow.
It was just last week. They're so detailed. They're so amazing.
I know. Well, see, I love going to museums, art museums in particular, for two reasons. One is just the skill of the artists. I mean, all the detail and everything, especially when you work with something like watercolors, as he obviously did. And then two, there's always a great story. No matter the art, there's always a great story behind that art.
Right.
And this obviously having to do with the New Testament.
Yeah, I mean, the paintings themselves, they look really big. They're about the size of this piece of paper. They're not large at all. And yet in them is such detail that, well, I don't want to give it away, except for that they give you some devices to help you see all that detail at the exhibit. And, the fact that they actually own these and that they're a part of the Brooklyn history and the part of the Brooklyn Museum is another amazing thing, because who knew that, they had such, they have tons of amazing art there, but that they had this collection right there.
Yeah, it's amazing. Very beautiful, and the detail is amazing, especially, like I said, with watercolors. I don't know if I could paint, a solid color over a whole sheet. I don't know
can't
if I
do
could
paint by numbers or anything. Jackson Pollock, maybe that's about it. Just splatter it. But he made it
that's
look
it.
Good, right. Okay. Well, tomorrow we are going to show you more of this collection by James Tissot and hear what people who've seen it have to say. You'll be surprised by some of their reactions, actually. They're really cool. We have that and more on tomorrow's edition of Currents.
I'm looking forward to it already. But until then, remember, you can always watch us online. All you have to do is go to currentsny.net. There you can see clips of the show. You can meet all the people who make it happen, and you can see what we're talking about over on our blog called Riding the Wave.
You can also follow us on Facebook. All you have to do is head over to facebook.com/currentsny. So for all of us here at Currents, I'm Francesca Maxime.
And I'm Matt McClure. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great night.